Welcome everyone to Couch Potato Diary, a two-parter today as we get ready for the start of the NFL season. It is all about breaking down some win totals. We'll start in the NFC. That's what this episode is about. We'll go to the AFC. That's what the next episode is going to be about. And we'll round it all up with some Super Bowl picks and Super Bowl predictions, all like that. So it should be a fun one. Let's get right into it. All right, so have done this for a few years now. Just going to run through every team, give my thoughts on their win totals, maybe a couple that we're going to click on actually. And by the time the next episode runs, we will be looking at our Super Bowl predictions for the upcoming season. So let's get into it and start with the Chicago Bears. The Bears total sits at 9.5. They are plus 275 to win the division and plus 1,200 to win the Super Bowl. I had the Bears listed as one of my most overvalued teams in the NFL during our preview process. I think that there is a world where this Bears team is better, but also doesn't get under 9.5. Like, I think that they could be a 7-win team that feels really, really good. One of the things that concerns me a little bit is they face the projected third easiest schedule in the league. By the way, most of these stats, if not all, are from Warren Sharp's Sharp Football Analysis season preview. So that is where this is coming from. The only quarterbacks that the Bears beat last year, Bryce Young, Aiden O'Connell, Sam Howell, Josh Dobbs, Taylor Heineke, and then they did beat Kyler Murray and Jared Goff. This is a team that I think like they had a lot of issues across the field. It wasn't just quarterback. And yes, they went out and addressed a whole lot going on that offense by bringing in Keenan Allen, by bringing in Rome Odunze, by keeping around DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift as well. But quarterback with Justin Fields, I don't think was the biggest issue this team had. And so, yes, bringing in Caleb Williams, I think certainly will help upgrade this offense a little bit. But this team got to where they were just by like beating kind of bad teams last year and not with issues with the quarterback. Overall, it was some problems on the defense and some problems on the offensive line. Let's look at the defense. Last year, the Bears defense ranked 30th in pressure rate and 31st in sacks, getting just 30 of them. They did improve to 24th in both pressure rate and sacks once Montez Sweat arrived. They are projected to face the 8th easiest schedule of offenses in the upcoming season. Also, on the offensive line, the Bears gave up 50 total sacks against what ended up being the easiest schedule of defenses in 2023. Also, they committed 54 offensive penalties and ended the year dead last in offensive penalty EPA. So yes, I do think that the defense is a little bit better. I do think that the offense is probably quite a bit better, and the schedule is probably a little bit easier. I still think to get over 9.5, this is a 10-win football team. Like, they can go 9-8, and we still get this. So I am going to go. I always keep track of these by writing it down. I am still going to go Chicago under 9.5 for the upcoming season. Up next, the Detroit Lions. Their total sits at 10.5. They are plus 140 to win the division, plus 500 to win the NFC, and plus 1,100 to win the Super Bowl. This is a team that I like quite a bit. I think that they went out and made some smart moves on the defense. They spent their first 2 picks on cornerbacks, and Terrion Arnold out of Alabama and Ennis Rakestraw out of Missouri. They go out and add DJ Reader. They traded for Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson as well. And so this is where I think Detroit grows, because last year, as you will know, I was, let's say, out on Detroit coming into this year, or going into last year, and eventually was proven right in the NFC Championship game. But I think that they made the moves that they needed to make on the defensive side to improve this football team. Overall, defensive efficiency and early down defense last year, they were 27th. They ranked 27th in the red zone. They were 30th against the pass, 31st in yards per attempt. 74% of all yards gained on the Lions were passing yards. That is the number one rate in the NFL. They were third in the league against the run, but everyone knew you could throw on the Detroit Lions. And again, it got them to the NFC title game. I fully understand that. They also had some troubles, they had trouble getting to the quarterback. 5-man rush last year. Let's just, oh, right. They're for stats against, with a 5-man rush, they were 32nd in EPA per attempt, which means they were last. 32nd in yards per attempt, 17th in completion rate, 30th in yards after the catch and completion, per completion, 24th in third down conversion rate. That is all against a 5-man blitz, 5+ man rush. They were second in pressure rate. They actually had a very good defense. If they hadn't blitzed at all, they would have been a top 10 defense. But they just felt they had to blitz and blitz and blitz to try to put pressure on the quarterback to save their DBs. And it just ended up really messing with them a little bit. And so the wild thing is, you have Aiden Hutchinson, who is a beast. And they ranked number 5 in pressure rate when not blitzing. So they were doing something they didn't need to do. I would imagine they cleaned some of this up. Offensively, they were obviously incredibly efficient last season. Just one of the better offenses that you will see. I think they take a step forward with Jameson Williams this year. And that's why I think the Detroit Lions are legitimately a threat to go out and win a championship. They also face an easier schedule of defenses this year. Last season, it was 17th. This season, it is projected to be 27th. So I think everything right now is really going in the Lions' favor. And so now I am on the Lions bandwagon. I like them at over 10.5. Some thought to them winning the NFC at plus 500, but we're not going to go there just yet. The Green Bay Packers, their total is 9.5. They are plus 200 to win the division, plus 700 to win the NFC, plus 800 to finish as the 1 seed in the NFC, and they were listed as one of my most undervalued teams in the NFL. The one thing that concerns me on this team is certainly the defense. That they were absolutely abysmal a season ago defensively, and that they had bad players in a poor scheme. That's a really bad fit. They got rid of their defensive coordinator. They've brought in Xavier McKinney. They drafted Javon Bullard in the 2nd round. You have McKinney, who was one of the best safeties in the league last season. That should help things out a little bit. The issue is that this defense was bad against bad offenses. They faced the 26th toughest schedule of offenses last year. They are projected to face the 2nd toughest this year. They will face 9 of 2023's top 11 toughest passing attacks, including the Niners, Dolphins, Eagles, and of course, they play the Lions twice. So this defense has to figure it out. They 100% have to. And I think they will to a certain extent. I don't think we're going to be talking about the 85 Bears, but I do think that we are going to be talking about an at least passable defense. The one thing that makes you feel pretty good is how this team grew through last season. And one of the ways they did that was pushing the ball down the field. Warren Sharp lays this out perfectly in his breakdown. Weeks 1 through 9. They 20% of first half drives featured an explosive play. That was last in the league. Week 10 onward, 59% of first half drives featured an explosive play. That is a almost 40% increase. That bumped them up to number 3. 35%, weeks 1 to 9. 35% of all drives featured an explosive play. That was 22nd in the league. Weeks 10 onward, 54% of all drives featured an explosive play. They were very aggressive in going at teams. And they were very, very aggressive in pushing the ball downfield and using what is an incredibly talented wide receiver room. From week 11 on, despite being blitzed at the number 1 rate in the NFL, Jordan Love ranked number 1 in total touchdowns, number 1 in total passing yards, number 1 in EPA per attempt, number 1 in lowest sack rate plus interception rate, number 1 in touchdown to interception ratio, number 2 in fewest interceptions, number 2 in success rate, number 2 in first down rate, number 3 in completion rate, and number 3 in third down conversion rate. This was an offense that got better as the season went along, and this was a quarterback that got better as the season went along. I love Green Bay this year. I think that plus 800 for them as the number 1 seed in the NFC is actually quite tempting. And so because of that, I am going to go Green Bay, and we are going to go over 9.5. I really do think that this is absolutely a playoff team this year. The last team in this division, Minnesota. I had them as undervalued, but the more I looked at the stats, the more I worried about it. Their total was at 7.5. They are plus 925 to win the division. The reason I'm worried about it, the Vikings are scheduled to face the 5th hardest schedule in the league this upcoming season. After they open the season against the Giants, the Vikings play the toughest schedule by far, weeks 2 through 7. Every opponent is projected to win over 9 games and make the playoffs. That is the 49ers, the Texans, the Packers, the Jets, and the Lions. They do have a net rest edge throughout the season, which as you go through it, actually, I think means quite a bit. The reason why I had hope for Minnesota is they were, I think, not terrible last year. They had 7 wins last season. And that's with Nick Mullins playing most of their games. And even when he wasn't, like when it was Kirk Cousins, he was bad. Cousins was just dreadful, I think, all of last year at times. And I don't think this team was all that, I don't think what they have now is all that worse from what they had last year when they had 7 wins. The harder schedule is definitely a concern. 100% it is. And I think this division just getting better is a concern as well. So I know I have them as one of my undervalued teams. I can't get this team to 8 wins though. So we're going to say Minnesota is an under at 7.5. Let's move to the NFC South. It is the Atlanta Falcons, who their total sits at 9.5, and they are minus 135 to win this division. I said before, I am not a big believer in Kirk Cousins. I am not a big believer in a few things on this team. New coach Raheem Morris, I thought that was a mistake. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because I do think that he just didn't really get a fair shake in his other spots. And he seems like he has really grown up as a coach. And so I do think that will help a little bit. The one thing with this team, they are projected to face the easiest schedule in the league. And that I think is going to help them immensely. The rest of this division is just so bad. And I have them winning the division. I still can't get them to 10 wins, though. So I am going to go under 9.5. That is absolutely not one that we are going to be clicking on. But we have them at under 9.5. I do think Bijan Robinson has a really big year this year. I think the odds for him getting the most running yards in the league is actually pretty good. And so I think that there is some help there for Atlanta and for Kirk Cousins. I think he really grows this year. Carolina, their total is at 5.5. They are plus 900 to win the division. They have been absolutely dreadful and have been absolutely dreadful for a very long time. And I do think that maybe this team, I think Bryce Young looks a little bit better this upcoming season. But looking at the numbers that Warren Sharp has, I didn't realize how bad it was. Of Young's 588 total dropbacks, he was not pressured on 357 of them. His performance in those, he was 44th in accuracy, 44th in yards per attempt, 41st in EPA per attempt, and 39th in success rate. And so that is very concerning, how bad he was, even under a clean pocket. And again, You look at this right now. The Panthers, the one upside to it is that they are expected to face a significantly easier schedule this year. But I don't see where the talent is on this team. I think the defense probably got significantly worse with some of the losses that they have, specifically with Brian Burns, and I don't think they improved the offense enough to help out Bryce Young. So I think this is going to be a rough year for Carolina. New Orleans Saints, their total is 7.5. They are plus 465 to win the division. I think this offense is brutal. I do not think this is a good football team. I think Derek Carr is kind of done. And again, Warren Sharp lays it out. Last year, when Derek Carr was under pressure, he was the 43rd ranked quarterback in the NFL. When the pocket was kept clean, 14th. Outside the pocket, he was 28th. Inside the pocket, 11th. Third and fourth downs, he was 35th. Early downs, he was 4th. So everything needs to be perfect for Derek Carr to go out and be good. And the offense just was not able to create that perfection for him. Defensively, I do think that Dennis Allen can coach up a pretty good defense, and adding Chase Young, I think actually will help them out defensively a little bit. But I don't think this offense is going to be good. I think that the best player on it for a long time was Alvin Kamara, and he continues to fall off a little bit. Derek Carr looks kind of done. So I actually have New Orleans, even though, again, 5th easiest schedule in the league, I have them under 7.5. Last team in this division, it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, they were 8-3 against teams that went under 500 last year. They went 2-7. They were 1-6 in games against teams that ranked 14th or better in total efficiency. Their win was against Jacksonville. They just had a whole lot of things work out really, really well for them. And look, we benefited off it. That was, I think, one of our best calls last season. But I just think the way that they get better is improved play calling. They had some of the worst runs last year. Rachaad White actually isn't all that good. You look at it, Tampa Bay faced the NFL's number 2 highest rate of light boxes on running back runs, getting 6 or fewer defenders in the box on 39% of running back runs. And they were still the NFL's worst rushing attack. It was dreadful, Rachaad White. And I get from a fantasy standpoint, he's the only one. So whatever, take that, whatever. He's not very good. And so I think maybe they put the ball in Baker Mayfield's hands a little bit. I think they are hoping the offensive line improves a touch. I'm not confident in this one. I am going to go Tampa Bay over 7.5. Just because I think Baker can kind of get this team there. And they've made enough improvements on the offensive line. But I do not have this team making a triumphant return to the postseason by any stretch of the imagination. We now go to the NFC East, and we start with the Dallas Cowboys. Their total is at 9.5. They are plus 185 to win the division. They are currently projected to face the 10th hardest schedule in the league next season. That could lead to a step back with this group. 11 of their games last year were against defenses that ranked among the bottom 12 of teams in the league. They played the easiest schedule of defenses last season. You guys know, if you've watched this for any amount of time, I am not a big Dak Prescott believer. I think the offensive line has taken a step back this year. I think at running back, Rico Dowdle is kind of meh, and Zeke Elliott, isn't what he used to be. CeeDee Lamb is excellent, but there was the whole contract thing that held over all of training camp, and so I worry about his growth as a wide receiver. And then after that, there's not a whole lot behind him aside from Brandon Cooks. Defensively, it's Micah Parsons, and they got a lot of interceptions last year, but we have seen that this is a team that can be a little bit aggressive and can be burned. I think with a whole offseason of looking at a whole offseason of looking at the tape and trying to figure out this defense, I think offensive coordinators around the NFC, and specifically offensive coordinators in this division, are going to be able to take advantage of that. The thing working in the Cowboys' favor is that they do get to play the Giants twice, and they do get to play the Commanders twice. And so I do worry about taking the under on 9.5 when they have a chance to just get 4 wins playing the Giants and the Commanders. But I'm going under on this pick. I am going Dallas under 9.5. I think that this is a mid, if not worse, year for the Dallas Cowboys. And right now, just looking at it, to miss the playoffs is at plus 145. I'm gonna go right now. Add that to my picks to click here for Dallas under 9.5 and plus 145 to miss the playoffs. New York Giants over under is at 6.5. They are plus 1,700 to win the division. I don't think we need a whole lot of stats here to tell you that Daniel Jones sucks. Daniel Jones just sucks. And they get him Malik Neighbors. And so that's great. But you lose Saquon Barkley in the process, replace him with Devin Singletary. There's just nothing here offensively. The offensive line still sucks. The playmakers still suck aside from Malik Neighbors. Daniel Jones doesn't have a whole lot to work with there. Defensively, they add Burns. I think that's a big boost. Thibodeau, fantastic. Love him. Rest of the defense, don't buy it for a second. I think this is a brutal football team. I think Daboll is a really good coach, and so that probably keeps this team from being one of the worst in the league. But yes, this is an easy under 6.5 for me. I don't see this team getting to 7. 7 wins? Are you kidding me? Not a chance. Eagles. 10.5 is the total. They are minus 150 to win the division, plus 500 to win the NFC, plus 440 to be the 1 seed in the NFC, and plus 1,000 to win the Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles, I think, had a great offseason. The secondary fell off a cliff last year. They were 27th in EPA per drop back allowed. They go out and draft Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. That really helps. I think bringing in Bryce Huff and essentially replacing him, replacing Hassan Reddick with him is a brilliant move. And I think that they are a really strong team now this year. I think adding Saquon Barkley unlocks a whole lot in this offense. Yes, they lost Jason Kelsey, but I do think that the offensive line is still one of the best in the league. It is all down to Jalen Hurts. He has to be the guy who is going out there and lighting the world on fire like he did a year ago. I think he will do that. And so I have Philadelphia coming out of this one. I have them as the winners of this division. I have them over 10.5. Also, the Eagles face the 9th easiest projected schedule in the league, and it gets easier as the season goes onward. They face the easiest schedule of run defenses in the league from week 7 onward. So I have them at I have them over 10.5. I'm circling every pick in this division so far. And also, I have them as plus 440 to be the 1 seed in the NFC, because I don't think a whole lot of this division. Washington, their total sits at 6.5, and they are plus 900 to win the division right now. Jaden Daniels over Sam Howell is an improvement. I think the biggest improvement is not having Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator. With Bieniemy calling plays last year, no team passed the ball more than Washington. 69.4% of all plays were passes. That was first in the league. They had 736 total pass dropbacks. That was also first in the league. They still only had 19 plays of 30-plus yards all year. So they were throwing the ball a ton and not getting any success with it. They faced number 1 lightest boxes on average on first down. Only 44% of snaps saw 7+ defenders in the box. The average is 59%. Despite that, they threw it on 64% of those plays. And even when they were running it, even against those light boxes like Tampa Bay, Washington still couldn't get anywhere. Defensively, they ranked 30th or worse in every major metric, including yards per play allowed, EPA per snap, and a whole lot of other. They ranked 30th in 20+ yard play margin and last in 30+ yard play margin. No unit allowed more plays of 15+ yards last year than Washington's defense. And so that is where, I think Jaden Daniels is going to be actually a whole lot of fun with this offense this year. And I think coaching-wise, they have upgraded quite a bit, even though I don't think Dan Quinn's all that good. This team still, and Kyle Kingsbury, offensive coordinator, this team still isn't very good. I'm not going to click on Washington under 6.5, but we are going to take the Commanders under 6.5. Our last one, the NFC West. It is starting with Arizona. Their total is at 6.5. They are plus 1,100 to win this division. I had them as one of the more undervalued teams in the league. Kyler Murray returned in week 10 last year. This offense got so much better. From week 10 on, according to Warren Sharp, the Cardinals won early down success rate battle in the first, in half of their games, They won 3 games outright and had offensive performances that ranked well inside the top 10. That was despite facing 5 playoff teams in those 8 games: the Texans, the Rams, the 49ers, the Eagles, and the Steelers, as well as the Seahawks. They were incredibly efficient across the board. And Kyler Murray helped out in the run game as well. That allowed them to really grow. The defense, one of the worst constructed defenses in the history of the sport. No question about that. And the defense now is projected to face the number 1 most difficult schedule of offenses in the NFL. They go on the road to face the Bills, 49ers, Packers, and Dolphins in the first 8 weeks of the season. The good thing is the Cardinals did spend on defense. Justin Jones, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Bilal Nichols, and Mac Wilson all brought in to try to help this defense out. I do think that with Kyler, a full season of him adding to those efficiency numbers, Marvin Harrison Jr. now at his disposal, because he's doing all those numbers with Greg Dortch as the number 1 wide receiver, right? And so I think that there is a real opportunity for this to be one of the best offenses in the league. And so I have them at over 6.5. The plus 1,100 on the division is that is not going to be a pick I lock in. But that is going to be one that we at least put a little bit of a sprinkle on just to see, because I think they could do it. The San Francisco 49ers. Over-under is at 11.5. They are minus 200 to win the division, plus 275 to win the NFC, and plus 625 to win the Super Bowl. I have them as one of the most overvalued teams in the league, and it's for a couple of reasons. One, I think this team got incredible injury luck last year. None of their starters basically got hurt until Greenlaw's leg exploded coming out off the field or onto the field during the Super Bowl. Like, they just had no injury problems all season long. Also, from week 7 on, the 49ers play the NFL's 4th most difficult schedule of opponents. During that span, they are at a rest disadvantage in 6 of those 11 games. Week 7 against Kansas City, the Chiefs are off of a bye. Week 8 against Dallas, the Cowboys are off of a bye. Week 11 against Seattle, the Seahawks are off of their bye. Week 13 against Buffalo, the Bills are coming off of their bye. Chicago coming off of a mini bye in week 14. And week 18, Arizona has extra rest because San Francisco will be playing on Monday Night Football the week before. I just feel like it is all stacking up, and Super Bowl hangover is just a thing. It has been for a while. And so, yes, I still think the 49ers are one of the most talented teams in the NFL. And if we just got to do a Madden season with no injuries, I think the 49ers have a very good chance of winning it. That being said, I just feel like something is going to happen with this team this year. And so I'm going to put them at under 11.5 wins, and plus 350 to miss the playoffs is so tempting right now. Next up, it is the Seattle Seahawks. 7.5 is the win total. They are plus 700 to win the division. This team has been just mid for so long. I think the big thing here is Mike McDonald coming in. I love the Ravens defense. He was excellent in getting the most out of that team. I think he is inheriting a talented defense that has underachieved greatly over the last little bit. And so I think if he can really maximize things with guys like Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy and some of those other, Witherspoon as well, who we mentioned on the Difference Makers the other day, I think this team has a very good opportunity of making some noise. I love Seattle over 7.5. And I am actually going to lock in them at plus 700 to win the division. That is, both of those are going to be picks that I click. So loving that one. Also, there is Seattle plus 165 to make the playoffs. That is another one we are getting. We are back in on the Seattle bandwagon, ignoring that Geno Smith is our quarterback. We are back on the Seattle bandwagon for another year. And last one, it's the LA Rams. Over-under is at 9.5. They are plus 325 to win the division. I have them as an overvalued team. I don't look at a whole lot of the stats in anything from last year with the Rams. I think I just have concerns that Matthew Stafford will fall off here at some point. You are requiring best case scenario from Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams in year 2 after I basically think you got it in year 1. You are requiring a whole lot of help from Cooper Kupp. A whole lot of health, from Cooper Kupp when you haven't been guaranteed that over the last little while. And you are assuming that your defense can replace the best defensive player in the NFL for the last 30 years. It just seems like so much of it is stacked up kind of against the LA Rams. And so I have them under 9.5. That is absolutely one that I am going to click on as well. To miss the playoffs at minus 130. I don't love props at minus, so we'll just leave that one alone. So now it comes time to figure out what our NFC playoffs look like. And I definitely should have had my bracket made before. So we have a 2 seed. They'll face the 7 seed, just to recap, and because I am writing this all out on the fly, very professionally and whatnot. You have the 3 seed facing the 6 seed and the 4 seed facing the 5 seed, with the 1 seed getting a bye in the next round. And so 1 seed, we already locked that in. That was the Philadelphia Eagles. Coming in as our 2 seed, God, it is so tempting to go with Green Bay. I do think, though, Detroit probably wins that division. So we'll say Detroit is the 2. I do think Green Bay ends up as the top wild card team in the NFC. So we will go with the Packers at 2, or sorry, the Lions at 2. We are going to have Seattle be our 3 seed, which means Atlanta is our 4 seed. And now we have 2 wild card teams that we need to get in there. I am going to say San Francisco gets in, even though we went under on their total. We have Dallas to miss, so we just can't put them in. So you know what? 3 teams out of the AFC West, baby. We're going with Arizona getting into that postseason tournament. So after that, I do think Detroit will beat Arizona in the postseason tournament. So we will have Detroit as our 2 seed, advancing. Seattle against San Francisco. I think San Francisco is the better team. So we will go with San Francisco in that spot. Atlanta against Green Bay. Give me the Green Bay Packers. Philadelphia against San Francisco is such an interesting matchup in our AFC or NFC divisional round, but I believe in Philadelphia for a reason. I am going with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think Green Bay gets the upset over Detroit. I think Green Bay gets the win there, and let's just keep that train a-rolling, baby. Let's go Green Bay freaking Packers to the Super Bowl as your NFC champion. So what, did I even put that down as a possibility on my odds sheet? If I didn't say it before, I didn't. Yeah, Green Bay, plus 700 to win the NFC. That is an interesting one that we will click on. So we are going big on a couple of teams. So that is the NFC preview. What about the AFC? We're doing that next. Part 2 of Couch Potato Diary coming at you in a matter of moments. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, and I will talk to all of you very, very soon. Like, right now.